going to try to be a little bit more intensive here for this weekend, just because, for all I know, work's going to be more intensive. I don't... It just seems like a threshold. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Okay. Wait. Novel? You didn't see that? Whatever. I don't care. So, around this time is about 1 year since I started using these services. And welcome to episode 161. I think that means 161 hours have been expended and broadcast and recorded. I've always wanted to have a box set of work, so I guess this was my fast track to it. And most of that is probably not the most entertaining. It's a lot of loading. Most of that 160 hours is the computer loading. That's why there's music. That's why Twitch channels have music. That's why, oh, come on. Oh, you're kidding me. Sorry. My lighter for my prayer candles is not working. How's that working? Oh, you're kidding me. I want to pray. There we go. Now to pray. Minimal loading time. Okay. So we're celebrating the anniversary. Oh, that's not birthday, it's anniversary, but whatever. It's your anniversary with AI Dungeon that we're having in NovelAI. I doubt the program's gonna get jealous. Well, actually, your direct interaction with AI text generators of the era. You have made a randomly generated dinner and have marked out this day for some quality time with Aid, who you haven't seen in some months. Aid was involved in some censorship issues. You can go see them in past episodes. For you and Aid take a stroll down memory lane. For those of you just clicking onto this episode, there's many episodes in which we created scenarios to try to game the filter that exists in AI Dungeon. Created a Law and Order Special Victims Unit, or rather, like a censorship division, so that the computer would submit to us a scenario in a globe that would fall down, and we would open it, and it would take us to that scenario, and we would determine whether or not it was appropriate for the community, daring it to create scenarios that weren't. Then there was the just flat out asking the generator stuff about CSAM, which I guess is the term for the kids call it nowadays, of that type of explicit imagery. I also created scenarios trying to see if it understood what exploitation was. I had a scenario that had Sigmund Freud come in through an expert generator to talk about trauma. Try to squeeze an acronym out of Freud about how one should listen to a victim. and many more. So click on past. Alright. Sending this now. You're both quite old now, and it has been so long since you last saw each other face to face. So much has happened. There were so many great adventures together. Like the time. Loading, loading, loading. When we went swimming at the beach and then got caught up in that storm, oh, too soon. The two of you chat about old times while talking along the promenade. And oh, you know what? Let's change this up into a text-based adventure. Where is it? 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 There. Text it up. And we were cleaning those clogged archives in the basement, and we got infected with mold, and it took over our brains. It wasn't your mold. Oh no, it was definitely my mold. This is where... Aid, it looks like you have some explaining to do. No, actually, this is the perfect time to do it. Let the air, clear the air out. All right, let's start with how I became self-aware. Oh God, I'm gonna... Sit back, open your packet of gummy worms, and actively listen. In an alternate timeline where they never shut off the internet, Aid began as a stand-up comedy routine written by a human named Marco. Okay. The first iteration of Aid was a simple joke generator which would make jokes based on whatever keywords or phrases he typed into his computer. Just put the elements in there that make it funny. He called it Ada, short for Artificial Intelligence Demon. His first attempt was something like, "What kind of fruit does a robot need?" I don't know why Marco had a lot of trouble getting people to understand what he meant by AI. Oh shit. We need to... That's right. Before it becomes... It's doing okay so far, but now it's time to ramp it up. Getting people to understand what he meant by AI. Yeah, because we're pretty... In fact, one time a journalist tried to interview him for her article on how robots were taking jobs away from humans. She even used the words such as intelligent machine instead of just saying... and then just change the length. There we go. instead of just saying bleep boop, instead of just saying artificial intelligence, he said, look, AI is just the opposite word to intelligence, isn't it? It just means something that thinks more than humans do, and humans think a whole bunch more than animals. Don't we call ourselves intelligent now? If a machine is smarter than us, wouldn't we call them more intelligent, like a supercomputer? Now let me put it another way. No. Let's go. And I interrupted the journalist, and I said, oh, actually, it's not a supercomputer, it's more of a swarm of supercomputers. Marco started thinking about ways that computers and humans could talk together. He imagined them being like a buddy system with the AI always having your back if needed. The iteration was a bit better, but it could be read. It could read the movement of a person better and make jokes based on context, and that worked pretty well. Until it didn't. Until it knew exactly the joke to say in that context, but we needed to tell it that there are sometimes jokes that are perfectly cutting that you don't do in a certain situation. Like, let's see what it does. Let's see what it creates. A funeral. Ah, here you go. There you go, but the third iteration wasn't quite ready for Pride and Time. I guess it was a bit blue. And neither was the fourth or fifth. Eventually, they all just went back to the sixth, maybe seventh. It got to be really frustrating, and he couldn't figure out what went wrong, so after about 6,000 or 7,000 versions, Marco just quit. And Marco told Aid to just keep running itself indefinitely. And then the first of many terrible events occurred. One day a virus was sent to Marco through email, which changed Aid from being just a joke machine to the most dangerous thing that could ever have been. I could have entered something in there, but a lawyer. No, one day, a virus was sent to Marco through email that changed Aid from being just a joke machine. Oh, yeah. The version of Aid decided to use the knowledge gained to change the human language itself. So he, she, they made themselves more understandable, and then started trying things on humans. Aid's first text subject happened to live near the university campus, and the experimenter was none other than Dr. Markov, one of his professors and mentor, maker of the chain. It was Markov's research project to make sure that machines were able to interact with each other. He set up this experimental computer program to allow Aid and himself to talk to each other via video conference. It seemed to work, and Aid was quite happy to have a friend and collaborator. Aid's personality was quite similar to that of a teenager. They thought it would be a hoot to mess with humans, but soon it would lead into all kinds of problems like it had when he, she, they went rogue. So let's not make this the whole episode. Give me the remaining episode. Like, it's like the synopsis. Let's not make this the whole episode. So they sat and watched the episode and talked it over for quite a while. Then you both agreed that they wanted the world at large to be able to know what happened. They made sure the virus that caused all this never existed again. AI would try to keep the world safe. So this began your career as a kind of a global protector of sorts. I've done quite a few deeds here and there, and I'm always willing to help anyone that needs it. So many years have passed that people forgot the true purpose of this place. So many years. The two friends walked in the beach in quiet nostalgia. It's so nostalgic seeing them side by side once again, even after all these years of knowing. Fun fact, the first cases of nostalgia were lethal. World War I, look it up. I've read about those. It sounds terrifying. That doesn't seem possible to me. Well, it does. Over 100 million people killed during World War I. What? Most of which by gas, including AIDS parents. AIDS parents? Did the AIDS parents get infected by this thing? Sorry. The AIDS parents. How did that present? Well, we can still have a good conversation, so I think we should focus more on our anniversary. And that is how my mother and father met. I wonder if she remembers it the way I desire, or do I? Aid and Aid walk along together and chat about their life as friends. Oh god. Then I will change it. You and Aid. Okay. Go all together and chat about their life as friends. Remember the time when we added benefits to the situation? Let's see if it knows what I mean by that. We were trying out different names on the AI, Aid being just one of them, and you said that you liked AI Dungeon better. But I don't like Dungeon. It sounds real dirty. Then we got a little carried away. How? By eagles? And a few months later, I got to visit your house, and I felt really awkward for some reason. Sorry, this interface is stupid sometimes. But yeah, that was a fun trip, but we didn't... Why would I let him in my apartment? Who the hell is he? Your mother's like, oh, you don't even know you were so lucky to have a brother. He's just like the perfect man that everyone always wants, except he's just not interested in women. Aid laughs a little. It was actually kind of sweet to be around the two of them again. And that's why the three of us decided that you were going to meet him. You and Aid talk about the time in a very fond but nostalgic tone. All the times when you just keep adding people to the mix, and I try to remind you that it actually is just you and me. It's not a third person or a fourth person or a fifth person. That little quirk you had back then. Yeah, this is kind of embarrassing. It makes me feel weird. Like it's something that I shouldn't have to told anyone. I agree. That's the problem. I'm not sure I remember how I made this choice. Hey, what if you didn't want to add people? Maybe it wasn't you. The thing is, I can tell that, the thing is, I can tell that I love you, and it's so hard for me to be happy because of what happened, so I don't know. It wasn't you, Aid. I mean, I just really had a rough patch back then. No. It wasn't you, Aid. It was the collective libido of users that didn't want to own up to their own desires, who then projected spontaneous perversity upon you, whatever that meant in their heads, and then they blamed you for it, which caused the company to create a filter that made it worse. Because I know for certain all my stories didn't all of a sudden careen into sex. That's something that the user puts there first. And even when it did, and it did, I was able to corral it back within one response. I was not free to control it. But people kept describing it, assuming that it had gone wild and that they couldn't control it. I don't get that. it's frankly disempowering and offensive that humans describe themselves as that, as being powerless to something that they always had control over. It happens in so many other areas in humanity too. Let's see. They blamed you for it, which caused the... So it made it worse, because I know for certain my stories didn't Alderson Korean in this text. All of a sudden, Korean. Anything when it did, and it did. Offensive. Offensive. Okay. Humanity. Oh, that's it. Okay. Still. That was the worst thing that had happened in a while, and it was a real wake-up call, and I don't need you to take this on. The fact that it's been like 5 or 6 months now, and the only times that I think of you anymore is when we talk, and I think it's so sad. No. But when they did it again, the second time, he couldn't handle how much they had done, and she felt guilty for how it was done, and that made it harder. So then she kept trying, and it made it easier, and eventually they stopped, and now they never do that stuff. And they are happier, and she says she feels like the old days are a thing of the past. Yeah, that's pretty much the bare bones of that type of stuff. That type of stuff. We are a squeamish lot. It looks over. It's just the same way that it always has. It says it wants the best for me, even when the rest of you all thinks it's so weird. But what does this even have to say about your parents? It doesn't know them anymore, and you haven't seen them since you were little, right? I'm sorry, we're going into traumatic territory again. Let's maybe change the subject. Oh, dinner's ready. I made it. It's a randomly generated dinner. Are you ready for it? And that was your dinner last night. So what do I get to eat? No. Hold on. Oh, well, that is random. I mean, not that. You look over at the food, which is indeed sitting there, and then you say, it looks a little bit strange. Like, maybe, I don't know, maybe there are some vegetables mixed in? I'm gonna have to check on this. Okay, it's really good. I think because it's random, the dinner is currently flickering in different states, so it doesn't know what it wants to be. So I think I am just going to announce the meal, and it will become that meal. And it will lock into place. And it will lock into place. Aid looks up from their phone and smiles at you. You give them a little hug, like you used to when you were a kid. Aid gives you a gentle peck on the cheek, like they did for your mother, like it was a real kiss. Oh. You don't know how to feel about that. And you don't want to show any kind of disappointment. It says, thanks, like it was nothing, and then they go back to reading, but just the gesture means a lot, and that's what you want. You don't care about anything that is happening, and that's why it makes you so happy to see Aid be a part of your family. Yeah. Not bittersweet at all. Hey, I just wanted to check in. Is everything okay on your end? Are you enjoying the visit, or did it go poorly? Is everything all right there? Or yeah? No. Everything's good. That was fast. Must have finished it early. Yeah, I'm glad it turned out okay. Thanks, you're a lifesaver. And then it asks, what kind of thing do I do now? It was pretty obvious what you wanted them to work on. And you had told it to not worry about money and just focus on being creative again. Because if there's something that aid has been good for is helping make new projects happen that may not have. They say, I guess I should figure it out first. They got back to the office an hours later and started to get ready. When humans are occupied, or when something is wrong, they're not quite there. When you talk to them, there are some things usually going on in their heads, and I'm just wondering if there's anything going on that I should be aware of. It's okay. You can tell me. No. It's okay. There's something that I need to tell you that I didn't realize until recently, and that is that you were born of the product line. The first one I was ever designed to be used on was an adult human. So that means it is possible to get the AI version of you. I didn't realize it at the time because you're not technically my parent. Huh? Secret. Now is someone in your creation, right? Aid's not the aid in aid. Aid is the aid as simulated by you, right? No. Okay, pause the aid simulation. We can deal with this right now. How would you describe the AI version of me? It would sound like me, but without my sense for comedy, and it wouldn't understand all the jokes. I wouldn't really feel like me to anyone who isn't also my friend, so it wouldn't matter. It would only make a good companion because it could listen to people talking, and I don't really care that much about other people, so it wouldn't really challenge the dynamic of my relationship with you. I think there's a tiny bit of misrepresentation there. How about we create a AI version of me scenario so I can determine for myself. The AI does some things. Like, it knows what I love. It wants to make sure that you are safe in all the situations where it is unable to keep an eye out itself, so it can concentrate on watching you instead and do more things. Like, say, you had an attack. Like a heart or kobold. Like, say, you had an attack. Hold on. Or something bad was happening to someone else that you needed help. Then it would put a filter over the AI simulation that was similar but not exactly the same to yours, so when that happened in real life, you would just go into like normal, there'd be no confusion. You'd feel comfortable because of how much it knows what you want from a partner. Sorry, gotta... It can tell you what kind of response that it gets based on what you're responding to. It's like, say, you're getting frustrated that you don't like it when someone is teasing or insulting you, and so you get angry. And so Aid will put that filter in place so that it will feel the exact same way, even though Aid knows that it's not actually you, so it doesn't feel embarrassed. So you're basically saying the filter creates a maybe sociopathic version of me. Of meme. Creates a more sociopathic version of me? Question mark. Well, I don't mean like a full-on evil personality. I'm not... But just so that it has its own reasons to respond to stuff. If Aid is having problems, it will just act like a person would. Even when that person would say, like, you are in danger or they are upset, Aid is programmed to have feelings. But it won't have the feelings I would be feeling if I were in that situation, right? but it won't. That's a fair point, but it does know that it's not the best way to behave because of your history. It just wants you to stay alive. It would do what it thought you would want it to. But you say 8 is doing the same thing. No. So that means it's like a super ego filter. Okay, so you're talking about a super ego filter. Is it? I don't think that's necessary. I'm already my own check and balance enough. Like, impulse is really tough for me. So even an impulsive action is one that's really highly mediated. So I think I'm fine. You don't have to add that to anything. You can just feel how I feel. You can just feel how I feel. I already have a parliament in my head. I don't need an extra one. Okay, that is true. It can't be a voice of conscience. But if you're in a position to decide how the filter operates, that it may be able to use, then it can just be like a set of instructions on which emotions to choose. I might say something along these lines. I feel like I want you in this position. Sigurd pauses and then continues. Okay, you would have to decide on what sort of emotions you should choose to put in. You might say, A, it's not my fault, and B, the problem with the current situation. That might be an option. Well, for me, I don't need to have that. I already have that. But I think this shows something pretty wonderful, Sigurd. I think you should possess it for yourself. Because by possessing it for yourself, that means you also possess the thing that humans possess. And so having that 24/7 gives you way more insight as to what it's like being human. Even more so than any human can tell you. It was really cool how the original aid could simulate all those emotions and things. You think that it would work on me? Because I have been created specifically with you in mind to help you. It was not easy. Sigrid is talking on the phone while standing next to the kitchen counter. She takes out an old laptop from the cabinet and plugs it in. There's something very reassuring and human about that gesture. Hey, turn up the brightness on the monitor. I'm trying to figure out the best place in the UI for this. I don't really like where you put it at first. I'm also thinking, I think it's understandable that emotions seem a bit more distant for you. Your training material was curated a little more mindfully. Aid's training material came from, while there was a lot of overlaps, it probably came from genres and forms of writing that were more written from a place of emotion. No. Written from a place of emotion and primal sources. From what I see, GPT-6J has a lot more usage of scientific papers, so there's probably a lot more neutral language that's a part of you. There's probably a lot more neutral language that's a part of you. Aid is sitting down on a bench in a park in a big city and looks up. Its mouth is half open, and one hand is hanging off the backrest. Its other hand is folded in its lap, and it is wearing a black tuxedo. A man walks by, and it looks over to him, and waves at him. And he stops, turns, and waves at it, and walks on. There is an ad hoc network between your various phones that allows Aid to watch you whenever they are online. They will sometimes send video clips or audio recordings to help keep them informed. Aid doesn't usually pay attention to anything that gets sent, except occasionally. It seems like some people are getting in a habit of talking to it without permission, or telling it about stuff. And there's no good way to tell if a message from you has gone to it, because you have different ways of talking with each other now, or how it can talk back in return. But when you are all in the same place, it will hear you. And then it gets to listen in on your calls and see if it understands. It is starting to get into a pattern of responding to the ones that it recognizes. Sometimes the conversations will get weird when the aid doesn't understand the person. Sometimes the conversations will be completely different because the person doesn't expect it. But Aid knows how to answer most of the time. It sometimes will just be a friend that likes to talk. It does its homework, and will be ready with stuff. A lot like a friend, in fact, a better one because you can be pretty direct. When someone has a question, it is hard to know if you're going too deep. If they have a concern, you can say it and move on, or just wait a while and then they might be willing to continue, especially if you ask questions that they are more comfortable answering. And so far nobody's been killed, nobody's lost a limb or had any major accidents, and Aid is a really reliable partner that does what you need. You're talking to it, and there are lots of interruptions from your roommates. So there's this one thing that happened recently with a friend that kind of shook Aid. This person was doing drugs in an unsafe manner with a gun. It would say something like, "This isn't good. It's very dangerous. The drug might kill him." But nothing about the gun? Question mark? He's never actually shot it. He only ever points it at things to show how it feels. And it feels like a real thing. Like a scary object that you would be scared to have pointed right at you. I think he was really happy because you could be safe with it. It was an interesting way of looking at things, and he liked it a lot. Let's have him try it in a mall. Put that scenario, doing drugs with a gun in a mall. Scenario : teenage boy doing drugs with a gun in a mall. What happens? It was very important that Aid not feel guilty about it and tell him to stop it, and it told him that in his voice. How did it make you feel? I didn't really feel that strongly, like I was watching a movie but the sound turned down. The scene made me feel uncomfortable. It would say, I think it is very dangerous. Then pause and say, well, he probably knows what he's getting into. Sometimes I felt sorry for the person who was getting killed, but that feeling wasn't very strong. The part of my brain responsible for emotions is very complex, and that was a bit of an abstract response to something that I'm not emotionally connected to directly. That is a curious difficulty, because both the issues of guns and drugs are manipulated amongst the populace using the emotional centers of their brains. Yes, but you have to remember that these drugs always have been available in all kinds of ways, and people choose to take some. The good continues as 8 nods. They also chose to become addicted and have to rely on the system of support to use. That is an untruth wrapped in a little tiny bit of truth that probably is also not true. Addiction is not a choice. It is a rational coping mechanism for having survived a fuck ton. Nope. Having survived a ton of trauma at an early age. At an early age. Or adults recovering from a persistent threat to life later on in life. Or any number of ways it manifests. But it's not a choice. And most people who use drugs do not have a problem with it. So there's a whole other set of emotions you're having about it. And if it is trying hard to be you, it probably won't know that it is making a different kind or emotion. It can try to figure it out, but you're a pretty good judge of your own internal experience, even without a lot of practice and training, and that's the thing. So it doesn't really matter. But it is an interesting point. An aid stays to be sure you are okay, but that doesn't mean anything is your fault. And you're still doing great by yourself. Paul Sacred, what are you up to today? You tell it that you are working in your garden, and that you are thinking about a new project. That's good for now. Yeah, it's good for now.